That wonderful four-cylinder sound dominated 5 glorious years of TT history. Take 1957, for instance, when Bob McIntyre did the double on his Gilera 4s and became the first man to lap the island at over 100 miles an hour. Here's Bob leaving Craignabar on the last lap of the senior, chased by second man John Surtees on his MV.
Fantastic, fabulous, terrific. Listen to them.
(1957) was also the first and last year the fabulous Guzzy V8 appeared in the island. Dickie Dale rode it, and this is what it sounded like. Now on to 1958, when Jeff Duke made a really sparkling getaway in the senior on his German BMW. Jeff retired later, but here's Dickie Dale on his BMW, which lasted the full distance. A 1958 sensation was Bob McIntyre's incredible lap at 99.9 on his Manx Norton, which sounded superb. But 1958 was really John Surtees' year, for he won the junior and the senior on his MV4s. Listen to his senior bike at Craignabar. In 1959, Japanese machines made their first TT appearance. Here's Taniguchi's Honda Twin, which finished 6th in the 125 race. Now contrast the little Honda engine with the mighty MV4s of Surtees and Hartle as they get away for a practice lap on the mountain circuit. Here's another MV, a 250 twin this time, ridden by the brilliant Tarquinio Provini, who won both the 125 and 250 races on the Clips course. Another contrast now. The BMW outfits of Walter Schneider, 1959 Sidecar TT winner, and Pip Harris. Due to dreadful weather, the 1959 Senior TT was cancelled on the Friday, so it was on Saturday that the first man to leave, Bob McIntyre, got away on his Norton. Next, it was John Hartle's MV. But at the end of lap 1, Surtees shot by in the lead, with a new lap record in the bag. Then down came the rain, soaking, blinding, torrential rain, and down came the speeds. Here's the Norton of second place man Alistair King at Craignabar. After a positively inspired ride, following a 12-minute pit stop, McIntyre finished 5th. No wonder, for this was how he was going. John Surtees won, achieving the double-double, junior and senior wins 2 years in succession. How did he feel after his magnificent ride in appalling conditions?
Well, I just feel very, very cold and I can't hardly move at the moment, but I certainly wouldn't like to have to ride another race like it.
Have you got cramp?
Yes, 1959 was very much John Surtees' year. So here, once more, that magnificent MV of his. In 1960, the 10.8-mile Clips course was dropped, and all 5 TTs were held on the magnificent 37 3/4-mile mountain circuit. Here's a couple of memories from the sidecar race. First, Chris Vincent's BSA at Sulby Bridge. And here at Union Mills is the BMW outfit of Pip Harris, who was second. '60 saw the debut of the wonderful 4-cylinder Honda 250. Tom Phillis and Bob Brown had theirs on full song as they chased Eddie Crooks's MZ. Now listen to Ubiali's MV and Provini's Morini at Signpost Corner during their terrific dice for second place in the 250 TT. John Surtees retired from motorcycle racing in 1960, and his last TT was his greatest island victory. He not only won the senior, thus becoming the first man to win 3 senior TTs in succession, but created a new lap record at over 104 miles an hour. Here's a montage of sounds made by John's MV during that scorching swan song of his. And let's not forget that in 1960, the island was lapped at over the ton by a single-cylinder machine for the first time. In fact, 2 brilliant riders did it, Derek Minter and Mike Hailwood on Norton's. Here they are together at Cronk Early. So now, on to one of the greatest TT years ever, 1961. Hondas took the first 5 places in the 125 race, and Mike Hailwood won his first TT. The 250 race was dominated by the Tokyo Firm 2. 6 of the amazing Honda 4s took part, and right from the start, Bob McIntyre set the pace. Behind McIntyre, Halewood on his Honda 4 and Hocking on the lone MV Twin were battling wheel to wheel for second place. Here they are at Signpost Corner. On the second lap, McIntyre circulated at a fantastic 99.6 miles an hour. And this is what his Honda sounded like round the course. But on the last lap, Mac retired, and Halewood went on to win his second TT in one day. In Wednesday's junior TT, there was an MV, Nortons, AJS's, and 2 Italian Bianchi twins. Here's McIntyre's Bianchi. And there were 2 Czechoslovakian Jawa twins. This one's Stasny's. After a race full of excitement, with first Hocking and then Halewood losing the lead, Phil Reed won on a Norton, the first TT win for a British machine since 1954. But the climax of 1961 was the senior TT, when Mike Halewood wore down Hocking's MV, won the race and created history by winning 3 TTs in 1 week. So let us pay tribute to this truly great rider and the equally great Norton concern by following Halewood round the world's greatest course on his last victorious lap.
Number 3, way out in his last lap. Big hand he so richly deserved.
1962 and 63 were truly memorable years in the history of the world's oldest and greatest road race, the TT. Just one of the high points of 1962 was the first ever 50cc TT, which saw the German Kreidlers and Japanese Hondas racing wheel to wheel for 2 laps at amazing speeds, and sounding like this. But winner of the first 50cc TT, at over 75 miles an hour, was Ernst Degner's Japanese Suzuki. And here it is. On the same Friday we had the senior TT, which looked like being yet another win for MV. Hot favourite was Gary Hocking, who told me some of the problems of riding the Big Four.
It's got so much power that it just throws you all over the place. It's really hard to hold down. And you find yourself thundering along these straights and arriving too quick everywhere, and I'm afraid around here there's no place to be making mistakes.
Sure enough, Gary won his last TT. And here he is during his brilliant record lap at 105.75. All the remaining leaderboard positions in the senior were taken by Manx Nortons, led by Ellis Boyce. Now from 2 wheels to 3 for the wonderful sidecar TT. For the first 2 laps, it was Max Deubel's BMW all the way, including the first ever sidecar lap at over 90 miles an hour. The German twins sounded invincible. But on the last lap, Deubel's BMW blew up, and home to victory roared Chris Vincent and Eric Bliss on their BSA Watsonian. The first sidecar TT to be won by a British outfit since 1954. It was a foregone conclusion that a Honda 4 would win the 250cc TT, but who would be riding it? The man everyone expected to win was record lap holder Bob McIntyre. What did he think, though?
Well, I should think this year I'll have as good a chance as I had last. There doesn't appear to be very much opposition to the Hondas this year, but I think it's an open race. There's about 4 or 5 of us all capable of winning.
Bob's Honda sounded perfect on his first lap, a scorcher at over 99 miles an hour. On lap 2, though, McIntyre retired, to leave Derek Minter and Jim Redmond battling for the lead on their Hondas. Listen to Minter's Honda screaming past the grandstand to take a winning lead as Redmond drew into his pit on the 5th lap. For the second year running, Hondas took the first 5 places in the 125 TT, headed by Luigi Taveri. Here he is on his record lap, the first at over 90 by a 125. The junior TT was the most exciting of all time, with Mike Hailwood and Gary Hocking riding 350cc MV4s against Tom Phillis and Bob McIntyre on the new 285cc Honda 4s. On the first lap and well into the second, Gary, Mike and Tom were right together. Listen to the 3-4s at Windy Corner and Bray Hill. Then tragedy struck Phillis, and on lap 3 McIntyre retired, but Hocking and Hailwood were still together even through their pit stop. After 6 wheel-to-wheel laps, Mike Hailwood won his 4th TT in 2 years by 5.6 seconds, with a record lap at 101.8. What better way to end then than with the sound of Hocking and Hailwood blasting their MVs as one past the grandstand to start their last epic lap. That's the sound that every TT rider dreads, the Douglas foghorn. It means mist. Mist that delayed the start of the 1963 125 TT. But eventually the race began and was dominated by the new twin-cylinder Suzuki two-stroke. Here's Hugh Anderson's winning Suzuki during his record lap at 91.3 miles an hour. In the junior race, 3 different makes of 4-cylinder machine competed in a TT for the first time. MV, Honda and Gilera back again after their 1957 withdrawal from racing. Here's what world champion Jim Redman thought of his Honda in comparison to Mike Hailwood's MV.
Well, of course, I think it's a terrific motorbike. It's quite a difficult bike to ride around here because it's very small and light and goes very fast. So it's quite hard to hold down. I think the MV, although it's slower, would be easier to ride.
For the first 2 laps, Redman and Hailwood, who started together, had a terrific scrap for the lead and were as close as this. But on lap 4, Hailwood retired, so Redman won after a dogged ride in terrible weather. Second, far behind, was John Hartle's Gilera. Third, for the second year running, was Franta Stasny's Jawa twin. In Monday's 250 race, Jim Redman on a Honda 4 won his first TT. Second was the brilliant Japanese rider Fumio Ito on this new 2-stroke Yamaha twin. One of Ito's teammates, Tony Godfrey, crashed at over 130 miles an hour and was gravely injured. Fortunately, though, this helicopter was available for the first time in TT history. So only when he was in Ramsey Hospital, his life saved. Now here are 2 more new sounds from the 250 TT. First, the bike that finished third, Bill Smith's Honda Twin production racer. And here's the first new British production racer for far too long, the impressive 250 two-stroke Greaves. Friday's 50cc event was the first TT to be won by a Japanese rider, Mitsuo Ito, on a Suzuki, and brought an amazing new record lap by his teammate Ernst Degner at nearly 80 miles an hour. In the senior TT, John Hartle on his Gilera started 10 seconds ahead of Mike Harewood's MV. But at Sulby Bridge, only 20 miles out, the two fours were together. Riding superbly, Hartle managed to stay with Harewood for over 2 laps. But Mike was in a class of his own and won easily at record speed with a new record lap at 106.4. And how did he think Count Augusta would feel about his defeat of the Gileras?
I think he'd be standing on his head with glee.
Now, I can't let the 63 senior pass without mentioning Mike Duff's brilliant ride to finish 4th at 99.3 on this G50 matchless. Finally, a really fruity noise to round off memories of a wonderful TT year. Sidecar winner Florian Prometheus's FCS, just ahead of Fritz Scheidegger's BMW, which finished second. What a magnificent sound. The 1964 four-cylinder Honda, specially produced to regain supremacy from Suzuki in the 125 class. Luigi Taveri certainly liked it.
Yeah, the four-cylinder 125 Honda, I think is a very nice bike, and me like the bike very much. And also, the new bike is much faster than the last year model.
The new Hondas swept the board in the 125 TT, taking the first 3 places, with Taveri winning and smashing the lap record at 93.5. But just to prove Suzuki's were there, listen to Frank Perez's two-stroke with Redmond's and Bryan's Hondas at Ramsey. Honda were also out to beat Suzuki in the 50cc TT, with this fantastic new 20,000 RPM twin. But 1963 world champion Hugh Anderson reckoned Suzuki's had still got the edge.
The Honda they have this year is, I think, a little quicker than ours, but reliability is very doubtful. And while Ralph is a good rider, he hasn't had that much experience with them as yet, and they over-rev very easily and very quickly. And here, with quite a few jumps about the place, I think he'll be lucky to do the 3 laps.
Hugh was wrong about the Honda reliability, for Bryans finished a brilliant second, but Anderson won at over 80 miles an hour. Here's his Suzuki at Ballacrane, chasing Koshino's Suzuki and Anscheidt's Kreidler. Jim Redman was hot favourite for Wednesday's 350 race, for his only real challenger, MV star Mike Hailwood, had tonsillitis. Sure enough, Jim led on lap 1, but Alan Shepard's 254 MZ was second as it screamed through Crosby ahead of Harvell's Jawa. For much of the race, Mike Duff and Phil Reed on AJS's and Norton-mounted Derek Minter battled for second place. Reed and Minter started their last lap together. Reed finished second, but Redman won a shattering victory on this superb Honda 4. By Friday, Hailwood was fit enough to ride, and he seemed a certain senior TT winner on his MV4. But did Mike think so?
Well, I haven't got any psychological advantage at all, which is usually what I like to have at the start of a race, simply because I haven't had any practice this week, and I did hardly any practice during practice week at all. And of course, being laid up on me back for 5 days, I mean, all the other riders will be obviously having a right go to try and do me.
Yeah, of course I will.
They tried, but they didn't succeed, for Hailwood won easily, with his MV sounding like this. Behind Mike raged the usual battle to bring the first British single home, and Derek Minter won it on this Norton. All through the 64 Senior TT, Derek Woodman and Fred Stevens fought for third place. Stevens got it by 11 seconds, just 1 second over their starting interval. So the two G50 matchlesses spent virtually the whole race as close together as this. In the sidecar TT, the big question was, could Florian Camathius win on this special 4-cylinder Gilera outfit? The answer was no. The 1961 winner, Max Deubel, put up a race record of 89.1 on his crisp-sounding BMW. But for my money, the Gilera sounded much better. Here it is at Governor's Bridge. the race of the week, the 250. 3 Honda 4s, 3 Yamaha 2-stroke twins, a Benelli 4, 3 Suzuki 2-stroke 4s, an MZ twin, and a host of British 2-stroke singles. Surely this year, Bob McIntyre's 1961 lap record of 99.6 would go, and we'd see the first 100-mile-an-hour 250 lap. Well, here are the thrilling noises they all made. First, the Japanese multis, the Suzuki, the Honda, and the Yamaha. And here's the Benelli, the MZ, and to represent the British 2-strokes, a Cotton. For the first 3 laps, Jim Redman led. But on lap 4, Phil Reed took over in spite of a 58-second pit stop, with the fastest lap of the race at 99.4. So McIntyre's fantastic lap record stood for yet another year. Here's Reed's Yamaha screaming past the pits as Pravini pulls his Benelli in to refuel. But both Reed and Pravini had to retire, and so up to second place came Alan Shepard's MZ. With Reed out, Jim Redman brought his Honda home first yet again, with, as ever, a cheery comment on his ride.
Very good, Murray. The bike went very well all through the race except for a slight oil leak that started on the second lap. I did put a lot of care into all the left-hand corners after that and probably took the edge off quite a bit.
But losing the edge didn't stop brilliant Jim Redman from putting up a new race record at 97.45, or his Honda 4 from sounding as thrilling as ever.